Earlier in March, Business Standard had reported that the government was looking at allowing India-Russia trade in local currencies. Initially, this would apply to sectors such as agriculture, pharmaceuticals, and energy, where sanctions had not been imposed by the US and its allies. The understanding was that a similar call regarding trade in defense equipment and dual-use items would require extensive deliberations. Cut to the present, there has been progress in enabling India-Russia trade in local currencies. Last week, the Reserve Bank of India reportedly met with officials from 3 Russian financial institutions to discuss possible payment mechanisms that would enable trade between the two countries. The Russian institutions involved were VTB, Bank, and Gazprom Bank. According to a financial daily, one of the options is a rupee-ruble trade mechanism. The idea calls for deeper engagement by Russian banks that have a presence in India in order to facilitate the trade. A banker told a financial daily that under such an arrangement, there might be no need for an Indian bank to play a nodal role, as UCO Bank did for trade between India and Iran after the US had imposed sanctions on the latter. So, how close are we to operationalizing this mechanism? Federation of Indian Export Organizations President A. Saktivel told a news channel that the rupee-ruble trade mechanism could come as early as this week, but there are multiple challenges involved.
Rupee-ruble trade actually was very useful for India. It allowed us to save on our foreign exchange, and I'm talking of the Indo-Soviet relationship. We're talking of the 60s, the 70s, and there onwards. It allowed us to save our foreign exchange. Russia at that time, or Soviet Union, at that time was amongst India's largest trading partners. The other useful thing was that the rate of exchange was fixed. It was not a floating rate. It was a fixed rate. In those days, both the rupee and the ruble were non-convertible currencies. Today, the ruble is a convertible currency and the rupee isn't. So we will have to find some kind of mechanism to deal with that particular problem. And so therefore, fixing the rate will probably have to be a floating rate. I don't know how this is going to be resolved. I'm not an economist, so one cannot predict, but that would be one possible challenge.
Net, we import much more from Russia than we export. So what would happen is if we did a ruble-rupee trade, the Russian exporters who are sending stuff to us will soon see their rupee balances ballooning up. Okay. And because of sanctions with other currencies, they will not be able to convert these rupees into foreign currencies or into gold or anything else, which means they won't know what to do with these rupees. They'll have to invest them here, or they might have to increase their buying from India in a dramatic fashion, which is not easier said than done. Ruble right now is very, very volatile because it's there are lots of restrictions on trading ruble. So determining that rupee-ruble rate will be a challenge. In the past, when we had the former Soviet Union and then in the early 90s, there were government-to-government rupee-ruble trades and rupee-ruble debt, etc. involved, where the rate was determined not based on commercial decisions, but based on geopolitical considerations. It was, some people gave, some people took, and, everybody was by and large happy. Now, as commercial entities doing export and import, we are not going to accept some non-commercial rate. We will, as an exporter, I will want a proper rate for my goods. So that will be the second challenge. Determining the actual Russian ruble to rupee rate will be the second challenge.
There might be a solution for the Russian banks participating in such a trade. An official from an overseas bank told a financial daily that Chinese banks in India could be tapped for this. How would this work? The Russian bank would swap the rupees for renminbi from a Chinese bank branch in India. Unlike rupees, renminbi can be used by Russians. Meanwhile, the Chinese bank can use the rupees to buy dollars, as it does not face any sanctions. However, fluctuations in the ruble's value could make things difficult when it comes to deciding the exchange rates. But why do we need such a mechanism in the first place? At the beginning of March, it was reported that Indian exporters were skeptical that payments worth about $400 million might get stuck as certain Russian banks were blocked from accessing SWIFT. Exporters had found that many buyers did not have the ability to make payments in any foreign currency or from a third party or country. However, they showed a willingness to make payments in rubles. Also, as India's export to Russia is not considerable, there is an opportunity for Indian companies to enter the country while the West exits. During April 2020, March 2021, according to Russian figures, bilateral trade amounted to $9.31 billion. Out of this, Indian exports amounted to $3.48 billion and imports amounted to $5.83 billion. Business Standard has also reported that India might import close to 2 million tons or about 15 million barrels of crude oil from Russia in 2022. The aim would be to take advantage of Moscow's offer to sell its crude oil cheap and bear insurance and transportation costs. The transactions involved are likely to be in rupee or ruble terms. In the end, whatever mechanism India settles on, it will have to tread carefully given the geopolitical stakes involved.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.